Shortly after 10 a.m., Donald J. Trump received the worst news of his presidency. The very thing he feared most had finally come true. As he sat in a private breakfast surrounded by governors from across the country, an aide walked in and handed him a note, one that would forever alter the trajectory of his grip on this country. He read it, he looked up, and according to two people with knowledge of the president's reaction, who spoke to PBS on the condition of anonymity, called the ruling a disgrace. Another source briefed on the conversation said Trump muttered that he would have to do something about these courts. A third source said he was heard under his breath seething, saying, "These effing courts." Of course, he used the full word. The meeting ended shortly after that. And in that moment, the one thing that had defined his entire second term, the thing he built his entire persona around, was taken from him by the very people he strategically placed to protect him. The Supreme Court of the United States had ruled that his tariffs were unconstitutional. Now, tariffs weren't just a policy for Donald Trump. They were his answer for everything. They were what he pointed to every time someone asked whether anything he promised was actually happening. They were the promise he made to the factory worker in Georgia, to the farmer in Iowa, and to the small business owner drowning in costs. They were what he hid behind every time he needed to justify the cruelty, the chaos, and the dismantling of institutions, and the consolidation of power. This is all worth it, he told the country, because tariffs are making us rich. Other countries are paying. The money is pouring in. Trust me. But none of that was true. The money wasn't coming from other countries. It was coming from us. American businesses paid those tariffs, and they passed the cost straight to American families, with higher prices on groceries and clothing and furniture and medicine and everything. But as long as he could keep saying the word tariffs with enough confidence, he could keep that illusion alive. And that illusion gave his followers something to hold on to, because they believed the tariffs were working. Even when everything around them got more expensive, they believed it because they wanted to, and because he told them to, even as their own eyes and wallets told them something completely different. And then, in that one morning, it all collapsed. The lie he had built his presidency on was ripped out from under him, and he imploded on camera in front of the entire world. So just after noon that same day, Trump walked into the White House briefing room, and from the moment he stepped behind the podium, it was clear something had broken. His face was puffy, his eyes were swollen, his movements sluggish. The bags under his eyes looked deeper than usual, too. His hair, so often fussed over, looked visibly thinner, and there was no swagger, no smirk, no performance grin this time. Just a man who looked hollow, visibly rattled, and fuming mad. You could see him trying to control it, trying to channel the fury into sharp, deliberate words. He accentuated every syllable like he was forcing them out through clenched teeth. And for the first few minutes, he managed it. He read from his prepared remarks. He kept the performance intact, but barely. And then, just like that, it slipped. Whatever composure he had left cracked in real time. The fury broke through. And what followed was one of the strangest, most unhinged tirades of his entire presidency. He started with calling the justices a disgrace to our nation. He called them fools and lapdogs. He said they were very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution. And then he accused the court of being swayed by foreign interests. He said Gorsuch and Barrett's decisions were an embarrassment to their families. And at one point, while defending his so-called loyalty to the Constitution, he blurted out, "I want to be a good boy." He mused that maybe Democrats should pack the court, and he told a bizarre story about fighting off the advances of a male business owner who wanted to kiss him the day before. These weren't the words of a capable leader. They were the panic-stricken threats of a man watching his entire facade of competence collapse in real time. And with each word, he showed the country exactly who he becomes when he's cornered. What we saw today was deeply disturbing. And while we know the 25th Amendment won't be invoked by this cabinet, it's hard to watch that press conference and deny that we've never seen a clearer case for it. He began with the ruling itself. He said the Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. And then he praised the dissenters, Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh, for their strength and wisdom and love of our country. He held them up as patriots, everyone else enemies. Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic, he said. They're so happy that they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long, that I can assure you. And then came the attack on the justices who ruled against him. He said, what a shame having to do with voting in particular, when in fact they're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats. And not that this should have anything at all to do with it, but they're very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution. It's my opinion that the court has been swayed by foreign interests and a political movement far smaller than people would ever think. Let me say that again. The President of the United States accused the Supreme Court of being controlled by foreign powers because they told him he couldn't do something the Constitution says he can't do. And then a reporter asked him later to clarify, and he didn't walk it back. He doubled down. He said, I think foreign interests are represented by people that I believe have undue influence. Whether it's through fear or respect or friendship, I don't know. But I know some of the people involved on the other side, and I don't like them. I think they're real slime balls. Real slime balls. And that's what the President of the United States called the American business owners who challenged his unconstitutional tariffs in the court. These are people trying to keep their companies alive under an economic assault by the president. And then when he was asked whether he regretted appointing Justices Gorsuch and Barrett, two conservatives he handpicked, he said, I think their decision was terrible. I think it's an embarrassment to their families. An embarrassment for following the Constitution. But it didn't stop there. Scattered throughout the lies, he said he settled 8 wars, big ones. Nuclear, could have been nuclear. That was his quote. He said murders are down, the lowest since 1900. He said the Dow had just broken 50,000. The S&P broke 7,000, and that nobody thought it was possible within 4 years, and we did it in 1. He claimed he saved Intel and that Taiwan came in. They stole our chip business. And then there was the story about the steel executive who wanted to kiss him because of tariffs. He said, a very powerful man. His father started it. He said, sir, I want to kiss you so badly. I said, why? He said, we were down to working 1 hour a week, and then you came in and imposed tariffs. And we're now going to double shifts 7 days a week, and we may be very soon going to 24 hours around the clock. And I said, no, thank you. None of this is based on reality. But that's the point. He isn't trying to persuade. He's trying to overwhelm, flooding the zone with lies, distractions, and nonsense so that by the time one claim is fact-checked, he's already on to 3 more. And then came the most revealing moment. He said he had tried to behave in the lead up to the ruling. He said he had been modest in his tariff demands. And then, like a child trying to impress a teacher, he said, I want to be a good boy. The President of the United States said on national television that he had been on his best behavior so the Supreme Court would rule in his favor. He said it out loud. He described the court as something that could be manipulated by being a good boy, like a parole board or a kindergartner parent-teacher meeting. And when it didn't go his way, he lashed out. He also made it clear that he wouldn't follow the spirit of the decision. He said other alternatives will now be used. He went on and said, could be more money. We'll be a lot stronger for it. Then he announced he would immediately impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122, a different trade law, and launch new Section 301 investigations. And that evening, it was announced that Trump signed a 10% tariff that says it would take effect almost immediately. In other words, the court told him no, and within hours, he reached for another lever. And I want to add in something here too. The next day, he actually upped it to 15%. But here's what he doesn't want anyone to know. Section 122 tariffs expire after 150 days without congressional approval. Even members of his own party are pushing back on his latest bluff. And through it all, he insisted the economy was thriving, saying, we have the hottest country in the world. And he added, it was a dead country 1.5 years ago under an incompetent president. But the numbers released that same morning tell a very different story. The GDP grew just 1.4% in the final quarter of 2025. That's less than half of what was expected. Federal spending cuts dragged it even lower. Factory construction is falling. Housing investment is down. Durable goods purchased are dropping. Inflation is still running at 2.9%. People are hurting, and it's just getting worse. But Trump is insisting that we've never had it better. He even turned on past presidents. We had some dummies too, he said, some real dummies. You know, there used to be a code, a line of dignity and restraint that presidents, no matter how flawed, did not cross. They disagreed, they criticized, but they did not show this type of behavior towards each other. They did not debase the office in unhinged rants trying to hide their own moral and intellectual corruption. And they did not openly attack the very people who once held the same impossible responsibility. That line is gone now, and it's time for every living formal president to stop pretending it isn't, because this is not a president. This is something else, something unstable and something dangerous, and it is long past time for all of them, Bush, Obama, and Clinton, to stand together and say it out loud. This cannot go on. The threat is too great. We are not just watching a man come undone. We are watching the implosion of our protections and norms be met with silence. We are in grave danger as a country and as a planet with a man who can stand in front of the world and behave like this. And not one voice from within his inner circle is willing to say enough. We must hold every single one of his enablers accountable and vote out every last elected politician who is not actively trying to stop it. So where does this leave us? Honestly, on a cliff. On the verge of falling off while still standing upright. One day, it feels like we might make it back. The next, we're tipping again. And this is where we are going to have to live for a while, because it won't be safe to look away for months to come. But that doesn't mean we stop building or stop planning. The primaries are coming, and after that, the midterm elections. And we need to stay focused on voting rights, access, turnout, because the system is not yet lost. And this decision just proved that. The courts are not fully captured, not yet at least. And the man who once claimed he was untouchable just got touched hard by the very Constitution he tries to bend. I fully expect he's going to strike back. He will escalate. He will try again. But he is not all-powerful, and we now have even more proof of that. And it's why I still have hope for America, and you should too. If you've made it this far, we are definitely on the same page and the right side of history. I'm working hard to spread this message, so please take a moment. It's free. Subscribe to my channel, like the post, leave a comment, anything like that to show the algorithm to show it to more people. For all of my daily posts, you can find me on Substack by searching Heather Delaney Reese, and I've included a link for you below. That also is free option there. And remember, no matter how dark the days get, I will be here every single day, and together we will always have hope for America. I'll see you tomorrow.